Jesus, I surrender all to Him. I freely give. I will ever love and trust Him, in His presence daily live.
The 28th of November, 1899, Volume 3. Louisa accepts suffering in purgatory in order to free some souls. My beloved Jesus came all affability. He seemed to be like an intimate friend who makes many endearments to the other friend in order to prove his love to him. The first words he spoke to me were, "My beloved, if you knew how much I love you, I feel so very much drawn to loving you. My very delays in coming force me, and are new causes for my coming, to fill you with new graces and celestial charisms. If only you could comprehend how much I love you, you would just barely catch sight of your love compared to mine." And I, "My sweet Jesus, what you tell me is true. But I too feel that I love you very much. And if you say that my love compared to yours can just barely be seen, it is because your power is without limits, while mine is limited, and therefore I can do according to how much you yourself give me. This is so true, that when the will comes to me to suffer more in order to prove my love to you more, if you do not concede the pains to me, suffering is not in my power, and I am forced to resign myself also in this, and be that useless thing which by myself I have always been. On the other hand, you have even suffering in your power, and in whatever way you want to manifest your love for me, you can do it. My beloved, give the power to me, and then I will show you that what I can do for love of you, because whatever the measure you give to me, that very measure I will give to you." He listened with great pleasure to my speaking out of proportion, and almost wanting to test me, he transported me outside of myself, close to a deep place full of liquid fire and dark. The mere sight of it struck horror and fright. Jesus said to me, "Here is purgatory, and many souls are crammed in this fire. You will go to this place to suffer in order to free the souls I choose, and you will do this for love of me." Though trembling a little, immediately I said to him, "Everything for love of you. I am ready. But you must come with me, otherwise if you leave me, you do not let yourself be found any more, and then you make me cry quite a lot." And he, "If I come with you, what would be your purgatory? With my presence, those pains would change into joys and contentments for you." And I do not want to go alone. But as we go into that fire, you will remain behind my shoulders so that I will not see you, and I will accept this suffering. So I went into that place filled with thick darkness, and he followed me from behind. For fear that he might leave me, I grabbed his hands, holding them tightly upon my shoulders. As I arrived down there, who can describe the pains that those souls suffered? They are certainly unutterable for people clothed with human flesh. But as I entered that fire, it would be destroyed, and the darkness would be dispelled, and many souls would come out, and others would be relieved. After being there for about a quarter of an hour, we came out, and Jesus was all mournful. Immediately I said, "Tell me, my good, why are you mourning? My dear life, have I perhaps been the cause of it, because I did not want to go into that place of pains by myself? Tell me, did you suffer very much in seeing those souls suffer? How are you feeling?" And Jesus, "My beloved, I feel all full of bitternesses, so much so that unable to contain them any longer, I am about to pour them out over the earth." And I, No, my sweet love, you will pour them upon me, won't you?" Drawing near my mouth, he poured a most bitter liqueur in such abundance that I could not contain it, and I prayed that he himself would give me the strength to bear it. Otherwise, that which I had not allowed our Lord to do, I would do myself, pouring it over the earth, which would be very sorrowful for me to do. However, it seems he gave me the strength, though the sufferings were so great that I felt faint. But Jesus, taking me in his arms, sustained me, telling me, "With you one must surrender by force. You render yourself so importunate that I almost feel the necessity to content you." End of the reading. The 28th of November 1906, Volume 7. The Good of Operating Together with Jesus. Continuing in my poor state, I just barely saw blessed Jesus, who seemed to transform all of himself into me in such a way that if I breathed, I could feel his breathing in mine. If I moved an arm, I could feel him move his arm within mine, and so with all the rest. While he was doing this, he told me, "My beloved daughter, see in what a close union I am with you. This is how I want you to be, completely united and clasped to me. And do not think that you must do this only when you suffer or pray, but rather always, always. If you move, if you breathe, if you work, if you eat, if you sleep, everything as if you were doing it in my humanity and as if your working came from me in such a way that you should be nothing but the cortex. And once the cortex of your work is broken, one should find the fruit of the divine work. And this you must do for the good of the whole of humanity, in such a way that my humanity must be present as though alive in the midst of people. In fact, as you do everything, even the most indifferent actions, with this intention of receiving life from me, your action acquires the merit of my humanity, because since I was man and God, in my breathing I contained the breathing of all, the movements, the actions, the thoughts. I contained everything within myself. Therefore I sanctified them, I divinized them, I repaired them. So by doing everything in the act of receiving all of your working from me, you too will come to embrace and contain all creatures within you, and your working will diffuse for the good of all. Therefore, even if the others will give me nothing, I will take everything from you. It seems I'm speaking a lot of nonsense. These are intimate things, and I am unable to say them well. I would like to write them as I have them in my mind, but I cannot. It seems that I take one drop of light and 100 more escape me. It would have been better had I kept silent, but after all, may everything be for the glory of God. End of the reading. The 28th of November, 1910, Volume 10. Lack of love has cast the world into a net of vices. Finding myself in my usual state, I saw my always lovable Jesus. In my interior, I felt myself all transformed in the love of my beloved Jesus. Now I would find myself inside of myself, all transformed in the love of my beloved Jesus. Now I would find myself inside of Jesus, bursting into acts of love together with Jesus, loving as Jesus loved. But I'm unable to say it, I lack the words. And now I would find my sweet Jesus in me, and I alone would burst into acts of love, while Jesus would listen to me, telling me, say it, repeat it again, relieve me with your love. Lack of love has cast the world into a net of vices. And he would remain silent in order to listen to me, and I would repeat again the acts of love. I will say the little I remember. In every moment, in every hour, I want to love you with all my heart. In every breath of my life, while breathing, I will love you. In every beat of my heart, love, love, I will repeat. In every drop of my blood, love, love, I will cry out. In every movement of my body, love alone I will embrace. Of love alone I want to speak. At love alone I want to look. To love alone I want to listen. Always of love I want to think. With love alone I want to burn. With love alone I want to be consumed. Only love I want to enjoy. Only love I want to content. From love alone I want to live, and within love I want to die. In every instant, in every hour, I want to call everyone to love. Only and always together with Jesus, and in Jesus I shall live. Into his heart I will plunge myself, and together with Jesus and with his heart, love, love, I will love you. But who can say them all? In doing this, I felt myself divided into many little flames, which then became one single flame. End of the reading. The 28th of November, 1920, Volume 12. When Jesus wants to give, he asks. Effects of the blessing of Jesus. I was thinking of when my sweet Jesus, in order to begin his sorrowful passion, wanted to go to his mamma and ask for her blessing. And blessed Jesus told me, "My daughter, how many things does this mystery reveal? I wanted to go to my dear mamma and ask for her blessing in order to give her the opportunity to ask for my blessing herself. The pains which she was to bear were too many, and it was just that my blessing would strengthen her. It is my usual way to ask whenever I want to give, and my mamma understood me immediately, so much so that she did not bless me before asking for my blessing, and only after I blessed her did she bless me. But this is not all. In order to create the universe, I pronounced one fiat, and by that one fiat I reordered and embellished heaven and earth. In creating man, my omnipotent breath infused life in him. Upon beginning my passion, I wanted to bless my mamma with my omnipotent and creative word, but I did not bless her only. In my mamma I saw all creatures. She was the one who had primacy over all, and in her I blessed all and each one. Even more, I blessed each thought, word, act, etc. I blessed each thing which had to serve the creature. Just as the sun, created by my omnipotent fiat, is still following its course for all and for each mortal, without ever decreasing in light or heat, in the same way, in blessing, my creative word remained in the act of blessing continuously, without ever ceasing to bless, just as the sun will never cease to give its light to all creatures. Yet this is not all. With my blessing, I wanted to renew the qualities of creation. I wanted to call my celestial Father to bless in order to communicate power to the creature. I wanted to bless her in my name and in the name of the Holy Spirit, in order to communicate to her wisdom and love, and therefore renew the memory, the intellect, and the will of the creature, restoring her as sovereign of all. However, know that in giving, I want. My dear mamma understood, and she immediately blessed me, not only for herself, but in the name of all. Oh, if all could see this blessing of mine, they would feel it in the water they drink, in the fire that warms them, in the food they take, in the sorrow that afflicts them, in the moans of their prayer, in the remorses of guilt, in the abandonment of creatures. In everything they would hear my creative word saying to them, but alas, it is not heard, I bless you in the name of the Father, of myself the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. I bless you to help you. I bless you to defend you, to forgive you, to console you. I bless you to make you a saint. And the creature would echo my blessings by blessing me too in everything. These are the effects of my blessing. And my church, instructed by me, echoes me, and in almost all circumstances, the administration of the sacraments and others, she gives her blessing. End of the reading. The 28th of November, 1921, Volume 13, The Sea of the Divine Will and the Little Boat of Light. Continuing in my usual state, I found myself inside an immense sea of light. One could see neither where it began nor where it ended, and a little boat, also made of light. Of light was the bottom of the boat, of light the sails. In sum, it was all light. However, the different things which are needed to form a boat could be distinguished by the diversity of light, one brighter than the other. This little boat was crossing this sea of light at incredible speed. I remained enchanted, more so in seeing that now it would dissolve in the sea and could no longer be seen. Now it would come out, and while it was far away plunging itself into the sea, it would find itself at the same point from which it had come out. My always lovable Jesus amused himself very much in watching this little boat, and calling me, told me, "My daughter, the sea that you see is my will. My will is light, and no one can cross this sea but the one who wants to live of light. The boat that you see crossing this sea with so much grace is the soul who lives in my will. By its continuous living in my will, it breathed the air of my will, and my will has emptied it of the wood, of the sails, of the anchor, and of the tree, and has turned it completely into light. So as the soul keeps doing her acts in my will, she empties herself of herself and fills herself with light. The captain of this boat is I. I am the one who guides her at the pace of her speed. I, the one who plunges her deep inside to give her rest and to give her the time to be confided the secrets of my will. No one could be capable of guiding her because, not knowing the sea, they cannot know the way to guide her, nor would I trust anyone. At the most, I choose the guide as spectator and listener of the great prodigies that my will performs. Who can ever be capable of guiding the runs in my will? On the other hand, in one instant, I make her do runs which another guide would make her do in 1 century. Then he added, "Do you see how beautiful she is? She runs, she dives, and she finds herself at the beginning. It is the sphere of eternity that enwraps her, keeping her always still at one single point. It is my immutable will that makes her run within its sphere, which has no beginning and no end. And while she runs, she finds herself at that steady point of my immutability. Look at the sun. It is fixed, it does not move, but in one instant its light covers the whole earth. The same for this boat. She is immutable with me, nor does she move from that point from which my will delivered her. She came out of an eternal point, and there she remains. And if she appears to be running, those are her acts that run, which like solar light go everywhere and to every place. This is the wonder, to run and to be still. So I am, and so must I render one who lives in my will. But do you want to know who this boat is? The soul who lives in my will. As she emits her acts in my volition, she does her runs, giving my will the opportunity to let many other vital acts of grace, of love, of glory come out from its centre, and I, her captain, guide that act. I run together with it, that it may be an act which lacks nothing and which is worthy of my will. I amuse myself very much in these things. I see the little daughter of my will that together with me runs and remains still. She has no feet, but is the step of all. She has no hands, but is the motion of all works. She has no eyes, and in the light of my will, she is more than eyes and light for all. Oh, how well she imitates her Creator, how she becomes similar to me. Only in my will can there be true imitation. I hear my most sweet and creative voice resound to my ear, let us make man in our image and likeness. And with unending joy I say, here are my images. The rights of creation are being returned to me. The purpose for which I created man is completed. How happy I am, and I call all heaven to make feast. End of the reading.
All to Jesus I surrender, all to Him I freely give. I will ever love and trust Him, in His presence daily live. I surrender all. I surrender all to Thee, my blessed Savior. I surrender all to Jesus I surrender, humbly at His feet I bow. Worldly pleasures all forsaken, take me, Jesus, take me now. I surrender all. I surrender all to Thee, my blessed Savior. I surrender all.
The 28th of November 1922, Volume 15. The divine will is beginning, means, and end of every virtue, and must be the crown of everything and the fulfillment of the glory of God on the part of the creature. Necessity that the divine will be manifested and known. I was praying, fusing all of myself in the most holy will of God, and with some doubts in my mind concerning all that my sweet Jesus keeps telling me about this most holy volition. And He, clasping me to Himself with a light which He cast into my mind, told me, my daughter, my will is beginning, means, and end of every virtue. Without the seed of my will, it cannot be given the name of true virtue. It is like the seed for the plant. After it has sunk its roots into the ground, the deeper they are, the higher the tree becomes which the seed contains. So first there is the seed. This forms the roots. The roots have the strength to make the plant sprout from under the earth, and as the roots sink into it, the branches are formed, which keep growing so high as to form a beautiful crown. And this will form the glory of the tree, which, unloading abundant fruits, will form the utility and the glory of the one who sowed the seed. This is the image of my church. The seed is my will, in which she was born and raised. But in order for the tree to grow, it takes time. And in order for some trees to give fruit, it takes a length of centuries. The more precious the plant is, the longer it takes. The same for the tree of my will, which is the most precious, the most noble and divine, the highest, and therefore it took time for it to grow and for its fruits to be made known. So the church has known the seed, and there is no sanctity without it. Then she has known the branches, but it is always the same tree that she has been around. Now she must know the fruits in order to nourish herself and to enjoy them, and this will be all my glory and my crown, as well as of all virtues and of the entire church. Now what is your wonder if instead of manifesting the fruits of my will before, I have manifested them to you after so many centuries? If the tree was not yet formed, how could I make the fruits known? All things go like this. If someone is to be made king, the king is not crowned before the kingdom, the army, the ministers and the royal palace are formed. He is crowned at the very end. And if anyone wanted to crown the king without forming the kingdom, the army, etc., that would be a king for mockery. Now my will was to be the crown of everything and the fulfillment of my glory on the part of the creature, because only in my will can she say, I have accomplished everything. And finding in her accomplished everything I want, not only do I make her know the fruits, but I nourish her and I make her reach such height as to surpass everyone. This is why I love so much, and I so much care that the fruits, the effects, the immense good contained in my will, and the great good which the soul receives by living in it, be known. If they are not known, how can they be desired? Much less can anyone be nourished by them. And if I did not make known the living in my will, what it means, the values it contains, the crown would be missing to creation and to virtues, and my work would be a work without crown. See then how necessary it is that everything I have told you about my will be manifested and known, and also the reason for which I push you so much, and how I always make you go outside the order of others. And if these, as well as the graces given to them, I make known after their death, in your case, instead, I allow that what I have told you about my will be known while you are still living. If it is not known, it will not be appreciated nor loved. Knowledge will be like manure for the tree, which will make the fruits mature. And once they are matured, the creatures will nourish themselves from them. What will not be my contentment and yours? End of the reading. The 28th of November 1923, Volume 16. Louisa is the little newborn of the Divine Will, and the Divine Will wants to be everything for her: life, food, garment and cross. Just as infinite was the cross of Jesus, which gave him death for each act of the will of the creatures opposite to the divine. I felt always submerged in the holy will of my Jesus, and I seemed to see my little soul like a newborn baby, whom blessed Jesus raised in his arms through the breath of his will, with such jealousy as to want her to look at nothing, hear nothing, touch nothing. And so that nothing might distract her, he kept her enchanted with the sweet enchantment of his teachings on his most holy will. And the little newborn was raised and nourished with the breath of the will of her Jesus. And not only this, but he covered me with many little crosses of light, in such a way that I, in looking at myself, could see a cross of light impressed in every part of me. And Jesus amused himself, now in multiplying these crosses, now in wanting me to keep my gaze fixed on him, in order to count all his words, which serve me as food and means to grow. Then afterwards my Jesus told me, my little daughter, my newborn of the divine will, my will conceived you, made you be born, and now raises you with all its love. Don't you see with how much love I hold you in my arms, allowing you to take no food other than the breath of my will? It is the most beautiful, the most dear, the most precious thing which has been delivered in creation until now, the newborn of my will. Therefore I will keep you with such jealousy as to let no one touch my newborn. My will be everything for you. It will be your life, food, garment, clothing, and cross, because being the greatest thing, it would be unbefitting for your Jesus to mix it with other things which are not a birth from our will. Therefore, forget about everything, so that no waters may surround you inside and out, other than the immense sea of the eternal will. I want in you the honour, the nobility, the decorum of the true newborn daughter of my will. On hearing this, instead of rejoicing, I felt like dying of confusion, and I only had the courage to say, Jesus, my love, I am little. It is true, I myself see it. But I am also a little bad. Yet you are saying all this. How can it be? Do you perhaps want to make fun of me? I know that many make you cry, and so to move away from your crying, you want to amuse yourself with me by making these jokes. And even though I feel the confusion of your jokes, do them anyway, and let them be the joke of your will. And Jesus, pressing me more tightly to himself, continued, No, your Jesus is not making fun of you. I amuse myself, yes, and the sure sign that what I tell you is true is the crosses of light with which my will marked you. Know, my daughter, that the largest, the longest cross which never left me was the divine will for my humanity. Even more, every act of the human will opposite to the divine was a distinct cross which the supreme will impressed into the most intimate part of my humanity. In fact, when the human will moves from earth in order to act, the divine moves from heaven in order to meet the human will and to form one single act together with its own, to make torrents of graces, of light, and of sanctity flow in that act. And by not receiving the encounter with the divine, it is as if the human will put itself at war against its creator, rejecting into the celestial regions the good, the light, and the sanctity which were about to be poured upon it. So the supreme will, offended, wanted to be repaid by me, and in every act of the human wills it inflicted a cross upon me. And even though I received, together with the cross, all the good which had been rejected by them, in order to keep it deposited in me for the time when the creature would be disposed to receive the encounter with the divine will in her acts, in spite of all this, I could not be exempted from feeling the intense pain of so many crosses. Look at me, in my interior. How many billions of crosses my humanity contained. Therefore the crosses of my will were incalculable. Its pain was infinite, and I moaned under the weight of an infinite pain. This infinite pain had such power as to give me death in every instant, and to give me a cross for each act of the human will opposite to the divine. The cross of my will is not made of wood, which makes one feel only its weight and pain. Rather, it is a cross of light and of fire, which burns and consumes and imprints itself in such a way as to form one single thing with nature itself. If I wanted to tell you about the cross which my divine will gave me, I should braid all the acts of the creatures, make them present to you, and let you find out for yourself how the divine will, demanding fair satisfaction, inflicted on me cross upon cross. Was it perhaps not a human will to offend the divine, to break up with it? So now a divine will had to crucify and grieve my human nature and will. All the rest of man can be called superficial. The source, the root, the substance of either evil or good is in the depth of his will. Therefore only the divine will could make me expiate the evil of so many human wills. This is why I want you all in my will, to make known what this divine will has done, what it made me suffer, and what it wants to do. And this is why you are marked with many crosses of light, because your cross has been my will, which has changed everything into light to dispose you to be the true newborn of my will, to whom I will entrust the secrets, the joys and the pains of it, as to a faithful daughter who, uniting to my acts, may open the heavens to make it descend upon earth and to make it known, received and loved. End of the reading. There are no more readings today. Have a blessed day.